note parallel terms, even if they don't relate to each other. And they said, Cornelius, a captain. Let's look at the Greek here. A righteous man, dikaios, a God-fearer. Dikaios is, of course, the adjective we apply to James, the righteous one. And God-fear is the word we apply to new Gentiles attaching themselves to the synagogue, new converts attaching themselves to the synagogues all over the Mediterranean. They were known as God-fearers. And in the same document, the Damascus document at the end, it's quite clear that it says a book of remembrance. There's a book of remembrance that you have in the communion that Jesus says, this is the cup of the new covenant in my blood. Do this in remembrance of me. At the end of the Damascus document, you have a book of remembrance that's written out for God-fearers. Let me see if I can get that for you quickly. Come on, get out, wherever you are. I've got some good translations of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the First Christians of the Damascus document. So if you really want a good one and not a crummy one, buy this book. It's cheap now. They're selling it for $4 or $5 for maingering it or whatever. I think Barnes & Noble's got a version of it that they sell on the table there. Anyway, the last column of the what they call manuscript B, the parallel one to there are two different manuscripts of this in the Cairo Geniza, and it says here, and it is the era of wrath, and in the era of wrath that God will be kindled against Israel. It was said there's no king, no prince, no judge, no rebuke, no one to rebuke with righteousness, Hosea 1:4. But the penitents from sin, this is written to the penitents, those who sought remission of sin in the wilderness, i.e. John the Baptist type individuals. The penitents for sin in Jacob, again, that was James's original name, but never mind, kept the covenant of God. See, these are keepers. Keeping the covenant of God is the definition of the Dead Sea Scrolls of the sons of Zadok. Then each man shall speak to his neighbor, strengthening his brother to support their steps in the way of God. And God hearkened to their words and heard, and a book of remembrance was written out before him for God-fearers, and for those reckoning or considering his name, until God shall reveal salvation. In Hebrew, Yeshua, Jesus. Till God shall reveal Yeshua, salvation, and justification to those fearing his name. Again, God-fearers. And I make the point that there is a cadre of God-fearers, Gentiles, connected to the community at Qumran, the Dead Sea Scroll community. And I don't have time to give you all that here, but if you look either on the website or you'll see some articles that I have about that particular issue. And in this book too, I have a whole article about that God-fear problem and the Gentiles associated with the Qumran community. Let's see if, besides the translations I have here, joining, joiners, artse goyim, and the symbol of Ephraim, relating to a cadre of Gentile God-fearers at Qumran. That's one of the articles in this book. So God-fear is a very charged word. So these are very charged words. Dikaios, God-fearing, and well spoken of by the whole nation of the Jews. And an holy angel appeared to him too, a Roman centurion, in Caesarea, the worst Roman, this is the worst Roman contingent in Palestine, Josephus says. The ones that more than any others goaded the Jews to revolt against Rome by their brutality. And here we have a Roman centurion from Caesarea. You don't know if you know what Roman centurions were really like. They were veterans of very intense battle. And they were not pussy willows. And they were not, I don't think, God-fearers, righteous people, well spoken of by the whole nation of the Jews. I can assure you, I would put my head on a chopping block if such a description were accurate now. You know, you say, you're just being prejudiced, Eisenman. No, I'm not. I'm being realistic. Now, we either are realistic or we're in some other world. So all this Roman centurion material, to my mind, and you can hate me for saying it, is a way of conciliating Romans of the power structure in the soldier class and the administrative class. We're already getting the conciliation of tax collectors. Now we're getting the conciliation of the Roman army. Now, of course, this is not Palestinian messianism. Now, I say, well, Jesus, he's lovely, he's wonderful. Yeah, yes, he is. He's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the perfect being, the supernatural perfection being. You know, they say, well, then how do you know he wasn't? I don't say he wasn't. I don't know what he was. I'm just trying to say, what would have been popular in Palestine? What would the masses have run after? What were the masses expecting? What was the messianism that was, you know, sweeping the country, moving the, you know, them to resist the Roman Empire and things like that? Now, this is some questions that you have to ask. It's very difficult. That's the historical Jesus. It's very difficult. That's why no one ever is able to solve it to everyone's satisfaction. One person agrees with one thing, and another person agrees with something else. You see, if I get you further on this description of Cornelius. Here, beginning of chapter 10. There was a certain man in Caesarea named Cornelius, the captain of the Italica regiment, a pious one. That's what James was. In my mind, this is really a description of James, transferred to a Roman centurion, who feared God, there's the God for him, with all his household too, doing many good deeds, charity, on behalf of the people, praying to God continually. That's a picture of James in the temple, and all the witnesses, praying to God continually, on his knees in the temple, for forgiveness. What? I'm to think this is the Roman centurion of the Italica regiment in Caesarea? No, I don't think that at all. You say, well, how can you be so cynical? It's the Word of God. Because if you're going to do history, you have to be willing to evaluate data. Look, Bush's people didn't evaluate the intelligence data in Iraq with any sort of critical, you know, energy or acumen. So if you really want to do the historical Jesus, that's what you have to do now. If you're going to accept all these testimonies, then there's, might as well don't, then you've already found it. So now, you have to say, I may be too cynical. So you have to be able to judge between too cynical and less cynical. And I'll let you do it. But, you know, I think also, and I bring that up in my book, that the name Cornelius has a lot to do with this Lex Cornelia de Sicarius and Beneficia. And I have whole sections of my book on that. Now, that's why they're using my word. All these things are always symbolic to my word.